Rube, long time no see.
Here we are again, Dave.
Yeah, these emergency pods, you get three of them in the last week. Howie Roseman pulls off another trade, this time landing Jaelan Philips from the Miami Dolphins. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast brought to you by Nissan. Reuben Frank and Dave Zangaro. Rube, initial reaction.
Yeah, I like the move. I like the player when he's healthy, and I think out of all these moves, this is the big one, and you can tell by what he gave up. Gave up three, one of two threes that they had. I think he's a guy who can see. He's got 3 sacks in his last 5 games. Eagles edges have 3.5 in 9 games, in 8 games. Um, 1.5 of which are from a player who's no longer playing. So it's a move he had to make, and I think BG is going to help. But and we've talked about this. I think relying on BG to be the difference in where they were and where they had to be would have been a mistake. And obviously Howie agreed. Um, every time we've been on huddle or been on pregame or been on a pod, and somebody's asked me who should the Eagles go after, this is the guy. I think he can still play, and I think he's going to help.
Yeah, it was the position, they went out and traded for two cornerbacks, and both of us were like, well, these aren't the moves that really are going to blow everyone away. There's another one coming, and this was it. I didn't know if it would be Jaelan Philips. It was, there was a lot of smoke around a bunch of different edge rushers. I think they probably were very interested in Myles Garrett, who it would have taken a lot more to get. And you're talking about perhaps like definitely a long term thing with Garrett. We'll see what happens with Phillips, but uh, yeah, this is a move that I think they needed to make, and it's a move that I know there are going to be some naysayers who look at all the trade deadline moves that haven't worked. You can't operate like that. You have to try to make the team better, and I think this is a move that, on paper at least, it makes the team better. Now we'll see how it plays out, but I think it is exciting. If you're an Eagles fan sitting at home listening to this, I think you should be excited about this ad.
Yeah, I also think some positions are easier than others to come in the middle of the year and play. Robert Quinn might not agree with with that, but uh, I totally agree. And there have been deadline moves that have helped. Um, Maybe not recently. I mean, Jay Ajayi's one comes to mind, but they won a Super Bowl with him, and they needed a running back. So, um, yeah, I think this is a guy who's 26. I think it's possible if it goes well, they'll keep him beyond this year. He's in his option year. He's only 26. He was a first round pick just a few years ago. He's been healthy this year. He's already played more games, I think, than he has since 2021. So I think that's encouraging. He does have a history of getting hurt, and it's something to keep an eye on. But he's still a productive player. And look, they need pass rush. And we've been saying all year, well, they got pressures and they got close and they made it tough on they need big plays from the edge, and they'll get Nolan back, and that should help. But he didn't have any sacks I thought he's playing well, didn't have any sacks before he got hurt. So I definitely think this is a guy who can help. And I can't say that about the two corners that Howie acquired. Um, we'll see. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. Not super optimistic about Jair Alexander, but I feel pretty bullish on Jaelan Philips. I think he's going to be a difference maker for them.
Yeah, and those two cornerback trades are, you don't give up much. They're kind of low risk, high reward type moves. There is some risk involved trading away a third round pick, and we should mention the Eagles have two third round picks, or they had two third round picks next season. The pick they're giving up is their own pick. We've confirmed, so that's significantly uh, less value than the Jets' third round pick, which is going to be a pretty high pick.
Yeah, it's a difference. Could be a difference of 30 some odd picks. So you're talking about a pick that might be close to a 2 versus a pick that might be close to a 4. We don't know exactly, but it looks headed that way, certainly. So I think that is really significant.
The Jets are so bad that might put it after the comp picks.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, they are. They're terrible. Um, but I think they're a better team than they were a few hours ago. And Looking forward to see what he can do and when he can start doing it.
Yeah, I would think uh, Green Bay is on the table. Like, I don't see why not. You mentioned there are certain positions that are easier than others. I mean, not that it's easy, but you can learn how to play edge rusher in a new system. And by the way, it's not a new system for him. He's played under Vic Fangio. It was just the one season in 2023, and it ended early for him. He tore his Achilles that year, but it was a really productive season for him. 8 games, 6.5 sacks before that Achilles.
Yeah, it was he was on his way to a Pro Bowl season, and I mean his first 3 years he was pretty consistent. That was I mean 6.5 in 8 games. His first year he had 8.5 as a rookie in 21 as a first round pick. Played all 17 games, 7 sacks the next year in 17 games, and then 6.5 in 23. So then he had one last year. I played 4 games. Had 3 in 9 games this year. Played all 9 games, all three in the last 5 games, which is interesting to note. So I mean, overall, the number is 26 sacks in 55 games. So you're looking at a guy who's averaged, pretty much a sack every other game. Um, had half a sack in his one playoff game. When you're with the Dolphins, you don't get to go to the postseason too often. It must be an amazing feeling waking up and going from a team that's just been bad for forever to a team that's trying to get to its fourth Super Bowl since 2017. I mean, you're leaving Miami, but yeah, you're coming to a yeah, you're adding a bunch of wins. You're adding a Super Bowl opportunity. It's got to be rejuvenating for a guy like him.
Yeah, and we talked about this on, I don't know, one of the emergency pods we did over the last week about the situation in Miami. They fired their GM. So it seems like that kind of needed to happen for these trades to take
Yeah,
place. And it seems like that kind of opened the floodgates for this deal to get done.
yeah, and I think that's a good point. I was reading one of the Miami papers, and they were saying Chris Greer was just going to be reluctant to make this kind of move. Um, he gets fired, and all of a sudden, yeah, this happens. So I think there's definitely a chance this doesn't happen if Miami doesn't fire Chris Greer.
Yeah, and we know how he's been picking up the phone. It's always funny at trade deadline time because the Eagles are linked to this player and that player and this player and that player, and it's because Howie is always on the phone. It's one of his greatest strengths. At times, it can be a weakness because at times he can't help himself. But I think that if you're an Eagles fan, you have to appreciate the way he goes about his job because like he there's not a phone call he won't make. Like, you might call the Browns and they might laugh at you for calling about Myles Garrett, but he's gonna pick up the phone and try it.
Yeah, and this is why the Eagles are always linked to every player that's even remotely available because he is going to make a call and somebody is going to know about that call, whether it's an agent or somebody with the other team, and they're gonna tell Schefter or Rappaport or one of them guys, and they're gonna put it out there. And like you said, he's gonna leave no stone unturned. So I mean, gosh, if Patrick Mahomes was available, he'd make a call. And then all of a sudden, the Eagles are linked to Patrick Mahomes, and it's going to keep happening. It doesn't mean they're about to get these guys, but you want a GM who's I don't say thinking outside the box, but has a really really big box. He's going to consider everything, um, and that's a positive. And I don't think he's overpaid for guys. For the most part, I mean, John Dotson, the three, but at the time it seemed to make sense. And he did have a touchdown the other day. But yeah, for the most part, I think he's gotten good value, and they haven't all worked out. But appreciate the effort, and he's always trying to make this team better. I love, and that'll continue. And I love his approach to this.
So Jaelan Philips this year, like you mentioned, the 3 sacks in 9 games. The pressure numbers are there though too. 29 pressures. So the Eagles, just for reference, the Eagles' top pressure guy has been Jalen Hunt, who has 30. So the advanced stats are there with Phillips too. And one of my favorites is quick pressures because his get off is really good. He has 12 quick pressures. That's more than anyone on the Eagles roster. So uh, he's been productive, and I think there's more production uh, waiting to come, especially when he gets on this line and you have Jalen Carter on the inside.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see what the rotation is going to look like, um, especially when Nolan comes back. We're kind of assuming Nolan will be back for the Packers, but we don't know that. Um, BG will be available for the Packers. Um, Josh Uche still here, so there's a lot of bodies, and I'm curious to see how it's going to play out. But Jaelan Phillips is, yeah, I mean, he's going to play a lot, and I'm just looking at his snap count numbers. You have them in front of you. Let's go here. Um, I mean, he was playing, gosh, like 75 to 80% of the snaps in Miami. So he's playing 40 to 50 snaps a game.
Yeah, he's at 402, 73% this year.
Yeah, that's really high. That's not going to happen here um, once everyone's healthy. But um, yeah, and there's going to be a rotation. Nolan Smith, Jalix, and Jalen. There's a lot of Jalen's around now. We're going to have to be really careful. But
Yeah, but this is a different spelling, so that's good.
what's a podcast? So um, yeah, so I think those are going to be the main guys, and we'll see where BG fits in, where Uche fits in, who else is even on the roster moving forward. There's a lot more of interest to come, but I would think he's going to play the third most snaps and be close to Jalux, I would think, in that equation.
Yeah, I mean, he's a starting caliber player, so they will have to figure that out if Nolan comes back and is healthy, like how exactly it's all going to work out. Because like I think Jalix has been good and like getting better the last few weeks, which is
Yeah,
maybe something we've started to notice. I think I mentioned it on a pod or on TV. Like the second half of the season, we saw what Jalix did last year and how much he improved as a rookie. I think it's possible we see that same type of growth in year 2 because he's really started to put it together a little bit. All of a sudden, like, they go from a weak position to if all this works out, and it's an if, I get that, but it could become a strength of this team.
on paper, yeah, I agree. And I think what you just said about Jalix applies to Nolan. I mean, Nolan last year, and obviously he's been hurt, and that wasn't the case last year, but he really came on the second half of the season as well, and obviously the postseason. So if he can get back to where he was, and I guess he had 10 and a half sacks the last 12 games, something like that. Um, you get all three of these guys getting after the quarterback, it's gonna be a lot different than what we've seen over the last few weeks.
Yeah, and it was funny we were always so hesitant to link Miami players to Vic Fangio because his 1 year there didn't go very well, but Phillips seemed like one that was pretty safe just because he was so productive in that limited window under Fangio that and we got the sense that Fangio really liked him down there too.
Yeah, yeah. I think I think it's an ideal addition, and I kind of feel like if Jalen Phillips hadn't been hurt so much the last few years, it would have taken more than a three to get him. So, um, because that's always going to be a question. He's injury prone and all that. The fact that he's played all 9 games this year and I think 40 or more snaps in every game is pretty encouraging. It doesn't tell you he's not going to get hurt, but it tells you that stuff, those previous injuries are in the past. He's played at a high level.
And they've been
Um,
significant injuries too. So like there's two ways to look at that. I think a lot of times when we talk about an injury prone player, it's someone who's like always dealing with these soft tissue things and like they can't get over it. Whereas, sometimes freak things happen too. You have an Achilles and an ACL, so I don't like injury prone is tough to label a guy like that. But on the flip side of that, he's such like a twitched up athlete that you wonder if those really significant injuries are going to kind of sap some of his athleticism. But that's kind of why I looked at the advanced numbers, the get off, the quick pressures. Like it looks like that twitch, and you watch it too. I mean, it looks like that's still there.
yeah, yeah. So far so good. Everything on paper points to this being a good move, a solid move. You never know with these moves, and really, there haven't been a lot that have worked out lately for the Eagles. I mean, Jannard Avery, Robert Quinn. I'm just trying to remember who was the receiver they got.
Golden
Um,
Tate,
Golden Tate.
and that
They've
was a
kept,
free.
yeah, that was. Um, so there've been some misses, um, but he keeps getting off the mat and trying again, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's not good enough to say, well, it didn't work before, it won't work again.
Yeah, and I think one thing Howie's talked about is like just kind of part of the evaluation process of a guy you're going to get in midseason is how is he going to handle being in a new city, being with new teammates and new coaches and a new scheme. I think that's got to be part of the equation when you're deciding whether to get a guy in midstream or not.
All right, I want to take a little break. When we come back, we'll finish this up. I have a few other questions for you about the weekend of football and this move.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store and nissanusa.com today.
Back on the Eagle Eye podcast, Reuben Frank and Dave Zangaro with you. Emergency pod, Eagles land Jaelan Philips. So, Rube, I have in front of me the names of their edge rushers. Aziz Ojulari not included. He's on IR. Actually started to give them some good snaps before going on IR, but uh, I want you to rank them in terms of snaps for the rest of this season.
Okay.
So, the names I will give you are Jaelan Philips, Jalix Hunt, Nolan Smith, Brandon Graham, and Josh Uche. We'll leave Patrick Johnson out of this, and we'll leave Jahad Campbell out of this because
Yeah.
his snaps are going to be split.
Yeah. And I'd be surprised if he gets a significant number of edge snaps moving forward.
Yeah, it seems
Um,
like that was more out of necessity, and
Desperation.
it made sense because you had N'Kobe Dean coming back, and you needed edge rush help. Now it's going to be a little tougher to get those snaps on the edge.
Yeah. Are we assuming Nolan's going to be back for the Packers or
No,
just
we
kind
can't
of?
assume anything.
All right. So I'm going to go Jalix number one.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to go Jaelan Phillips 2, Nolan 3, Uche 4, BG 5. Just because I don't know about Nolan's health. And I wonder if they're going to be careful with him when he does come back, because his injuries are injuries that you kind of worry about more than just he's back, he's healthy.
Well,
It's
it's the same injury. It's the triceps. So,
yeah,
yeah, I think there's some risk in there. I agree with you. I think BG is going to outsnap Josh Uche.
it could be. Yeah, I mean that's fair. I think they'll be close. They'll, you know, uh, but I just don't know. I don't know what BG is going to look like. Kind of think he's going to be okay, but yeah. So you would also go Jalix and then Jalen Phillips too.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I think Jalix has just played really well. He has a head start. So I think early on, Jalen Phillips is probably going to get like third down known pass reps, and they're going to build him up a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh, just in terms of, I know he knows the basics of the system, but Vic changes too. It's not like Vic is running the same stuff all the time. So a couple of weeks where he's limited, and then you really like, then I think he's a starter.
Yeah. I mean, certainly starter caliber.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be the first guy out there as the technical starter. I think they will defer to the guys who have been here with Jalix and Nolan Smith if he's out there, but I think Phillips is going to play a lot.
Yeah, agree.
Okay. And by the way, the Eagles edge rushers have 4.5 sacks this year, not 3.5.
Right. You're right.
I don't know if you were sliding Patrick Johnson or Josh Uche,
Uche
but
got one. Yeah. I forgot about Uche's at first, but I was going to correct myself as soon as I had the opportunity.
okay. I just want to, justice for Josh Uche here.
You got it.
Yeah.
Put it on t-shirts.
Uh, of the three trades, we both agree this is the most significant. Between Michael Carter and Jair Alexander, which one would you slide in second?
Probably Michael Carter. I don't think Jair Alexander can play anymore. I could be wrong. We'll see. Um, but I think Michael Carter, and I'm not convinced Michael Carter can either. you have two pretty bad teams that have given up on these guys, and there's other reasons involved. But I would go with Michael Carter second. Um, I just Jair Alexander. Every once in a while, they bring in some like a veteran who you just kind of feel like maybe there's just nothing left anymore. I
Is
think he
it
might
the
be
Shaq Leonard?
Shaq Leonard, Mike Wallace, like some of these guys.
I still
Um,
maintain Mike Wallace would have been okay if he didn't get hurt earlier that season.
I put Robert Quinn in. I mean, there's guys who've like been Pro Bowlers earlier in their career. Um, yeah, I don't know. We'll never know, but um,
Me and Mike Wallace believe that. That's probably it.
yeah. So that's how I would order them.
Okay. Uh, watch a bunch of football this weekend?
I did.
Pretty good weekend for the Eagles to not play a game. I mean, you
Yeah.
see the Lions lose, you see the Packers lose, you see the Commanders lose, and not that you cheer an injury, but I mean that whole season is probably tanked now for the Commanders with the injury to Jaden Daniels, I'm all mixed up. Dan-
And you just feel so bad for that kid, but I don't want to say you could see it coming, but like they can't protect him. I mean, he's out there running for his life, snap after snap. It just felt like I was seeing RG3 again.
I
Um,
saw. I don't know how true this is. I probably shouldn't bring it up, but it was like the same exact spot where RG3 suffered his bad injury
oh, really?
on that field. Yeah.
Huh. Um, yeah, that's crazy if that's true. But he's such a talented kid. He seems like such a great kid. You hope he's okay. I
He
was
was
saying
running
all
for
up.
his life.
Sorry,
He was running for his life last night.
he was. It was hard to watch, and I hated the way they built that team, the oldest team in the league. I mean, we talked about it all summer. Like I just thought they were due for a big step backwards, and we're seeing that they're just not very good. Now, obviously, they miss McLaurin, they miss other guys who are hurt, but they're just not built for sustained success around a young quarterback, and it's a shame. I feel like they've let him down in the way they built that team. Um,
They should trade Zach Ertz.
they should. They should trade their young prospects. I still maintain that Zach Ertz is going to finish his career here. I would not be surprised if Zach Ertz is an Eagle by tomorrow. How about that?
Wow.
No, he can still play, and he's like Jaden Daniels' favorite guy to throw to. But anyway, yeah, that was tough to watch. But the Lions and Packers, that surprised me, and obviously it's like their next two games, but not just that they lost, but they just neither one looked that good in doing it. And like I went from like maybe the Eagles can go 1-1 in these next two. I'm thinking like, and like they're the best team in the NFC right now, and Seattle look really really good, and I mean they're really good. The
It
Eagles
is
don't.
funny. This is a time of the season where you realize that you have to recalibrate from what
Yeah,
you thought in August. Like, oh wait, no, Seattle's actually really good.
but I guess if the season ended now, the Eagles be the number one seed. They got
Mhm.
the tiebreaker over Tampa and the Rams, and the Lions and Packers are behind them. So I think yesterday when I watching everything unfold, it was the first time I was thinking like, you know, if they take care of business, and they got a tough schedule, but they can be the one seed. I mean, there's you know, I think it's I think it's in there. And look, there's other really good teams in the conference, and they don't play Seattle, but Seattle's got a pretty easier schedule than the Eagles.
Mhm.
Um, but the conference is fascinating to me, and like if you had to guess now, who's in the NFC Championship game, who would you? Yeah, I think the
Y-
Rams are in play. Um,
Yeah, right now, I mean, like I think the Lions are better than the Packers, but right now the Packers are ahead in that division.
yeah, yeah. The Lions
And the
are.
Packers suffered some significant injuries in their game. Tucker Kraft is like maybe the best tight end in the league.
Yeah, yeah. That's a shame. Um, there's something. The Lions have surprised me, and I wasn't. I didn't have huge expectations on the Packers, so I wouldn't say I'm shocked they haven't, you know, they've lost some games maybe you thought they would have won, but I thought the Lions would be better than they are. Um, yeah, so I'm not sure what's going on there. I thought they were loaded on both sides of the ball. They are. I mean, they still are. It's hard to be good in this league, you know. It's like it's hard to, and when you see what the Eagles do, they're good year after year after year. It really, you really appreciate what they've got going here.
Yeah, it just seems like the league is a bunch of 8 and 9, 9 and 8 teams, and then a few teams that end up winning 12 to 13 games.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be a fascinating second half. Can't wait to get going.
Yeah. We'll save some of that NFC chatter for a regularly scheduled pod this week. I want to get into where the Eagles stand, their playoff odds, and all that stuff. Any final thoughts on this Jaelan Philips deal before we wrap this pod up?
No, can't wait to talk to him, and I guess we'll talk to him Thursday and see where his head's at going from Miami to here. But I think it's a really good move.
Yeah, excited to talk to him. Excited to see him play the rest of this season. If you have a question for us, eagle-eye at nbcuni.com. QR code is on the screen. Tell us what you think of the Jaelan Philips deal. If there's someone out there who's like, man, I just don't think it's a good move, let us know. We'll talk about it on a future pod. And if you enjoyed the Eagle Eye podcast, please rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, click the like button and subscribe there as well. For Reuben Frank, I'm Dave Zangaro. This has been Eagle Eye presented by Nissan. We'll talk to you soon.